It's no secret that Stephen Miller has effectively been acting as the shadow president. It's not just because Donald Trump's clear cognitive decline makes it impossible for him to be running the government himself. Project 2025 openly laid out how Trump's inner circle would actually be pulling the strings. And that's exactly what Stephen Miller has been doing from the start, quietly operating behind the scenes. But now, that secrecy is gone. A major new lawsuit has not only exposed Miller's illegal and unethical ICE raids, but is also revealing how much control he truly has behind the curtain. And he's panicking. We're going to break it all down. But first, please take a moment to like this video, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. It really helps support our work. Now, before diving into Miller's meltdown and how this lawsuit is unraveling his operations, we need to start with Rachel Maddow reporting on the spyware ICE has been using to target and monitor people.
The Biden administration banned the U.S. government from ever using that particular spyware or anything like it. Well, then Donald Trump was elected, and the Trump administration has now quietly reversed that ban. And indeed, they have now contracted with a company that makes exactly that same kind of spyware as Pegasus. And which part of the Trump administration is using it? Which part of the Trump administration has been given this surveillance tool? ICE. And are they using it just against immigrants? Yeah, right, as if. Headline in the Washington Post: ICE amps up its surveillance powers. ICE's acting director says the agency will deploy its elite investigative officers to probe anti-ICE protest networks. Former officials have expressed concern that ICE now has a green light not only to monitor immigrant communities, but also to carry out broad surveillance of Americans, exercising their First Amendment right to oppose government action. U.S. citizens who may not themselves be suspected of crimes. According to the Electronic Privacy Information Center, quote, "We don't know if law enforcement or ICE are even getting search warrants to deploy this software." Paragon, the company that makes this version of this no-click take-over-your-phone software, which Trump has now given to ICE, Paragon software has been used by the Italian government to infect the phones of opposition politicians and activists who help immigrants. Penlink, another surveillance company that provides real-time location data about you to the government without a warrant, it's been used in the past to target opposition politicians and activists in Mexico and also in Hong Kong. Now our government, and specifically ICE, has those and more. Again, supposedly to use in their mission against immigrants, but also apparently to use against Americans who are protesting against them.
Stephen Miller is using surveillance tools to monitor virtually everyone. You, me, our families, undocumented immigrants, and people all across the country, all to meet meaningless deportation quotas that serve only one purpose: giving Donald Trump a number to brag about for political gain. Miller's actions are dangerous and deeply disturbing. We've discussed this spyware before, but in light of recent developments, its use has become even more alarming. Miller is an out-of-control figure, and every time his extremist immigration agenda fails, which it repeatedly does as public support collapses, he completely unravels. His latest outburst, a furious meltdown on Fox News, is a perfect example of that.
Look, I hate to say it, Sean, but Democrat leaders are siding with the domestic terrorists. Antifa is waging, as I explained in that clip you played, daily violent assault against ICE officers. They are attempting to physically prevent ICE officers from doing their jobs, using every means imaginable, including, of course, as we saw just a few weeks ago, attempted murder. And then we saw a few days ago another attempted murder through a vehicle ramming attack. It is unceasing. Day after day, night after night, Antifa terrorists, as was explained to the event in the White House today, are trying to kill ICE officers, attack ICE officers, threaten their families, dox them, and do everything in their power to try to prevent Immigration and Customs Enforcement from getting violent criminal aliens out of this country. Now look at what happened by contrast in Washington, D.C. When President Trump's program was put in place, when local leadership embraced the Trump plan, the Trump program, what happened, Sean? It's never been more peaceful. People have never felt more free. As President Trump said on your show tonight, they're going out to restaurants, they're going to monuments, they're taking lovely strolls in the evening with their loved ones. The only people who have lost are the criminals, the gangbangers, the drug dealers, the criminally illegal aliens. The Trump plan has brought historic safety to one of the most violent cities on earth, Washington, D.C. That's what President Trump wants for Chicago. That's what he wants for Portland. That's what he wants for Los Angeles. And yet Democrats are on the side every night of the gangbangers, the predators, and now even the domestic terrorists.
Stephen Miller has to create the most dramatic stakes possible to justify the all-out assault on American cities that we have seen from ICE and blue cities, of course. I mean, assault on blue cities. Stephen Miller wants to intimidate Democratic mayors, Democratic governors. It is the ethos of this administration to instill fear in people. They want us scared. They want us worried, looking over our shoulder constantly. They want this cruel, crushing angst to be driving our lives because the cruelty, it is the point. That is what Stephen Miller wants. And he thinks that he can inflict that upon us from behind the scenes, that he can stay out of the firing line, that there won't be any accountability for Stephen Miller and the disgusting message that he is pushing to his ICE goons. But that's not true, because a new lawsuit is about to uncover everything that Stephen Miller doesn't want you to know as he tries to look through all your information, and it has him pretty furious. Judge Ripps's bungling DHS lawyer for trying to keep Stephen Miller's orders secret. A federal judge humiliated a Justice Department attorney after he tried to shut down questions about Stephen Miller's role in Chicago's ICE crackdown. A government lawyer stumbled through objections to a demand from plaintiffs to hand over details of communications between Stephen Miller and a Border Patrol commander. The argument came during Bovino's deposition as part of a lawsuit about immigration agents' aggressive tactics during the Trump administration's Operation Midway Blitz in Chicago, prompting an intervention from U.S. District Judge Sarah Ellis. Ellis responded that such lines were relevant if they illuminated what Boino told officers about how they shaped forced decisions on the streets of Chicago. This is the problem when we've got a revolving door of attorneys and they haven't been here for the entire thing. Ellis told the lawyer, they haven't sat through people's testimony. They haven't sat through these hearings, and so now I'm having to explain myself multiple times, and I find it at this point extremely frustrating and a waste of time. The Obama-appointed judge added, if you interrupt me one more time, it's enough. It's enough. Before ruling that target questions about communications with Miller 40 were fair if tied to field directives and use of force. During the testy exchange, the lawyer repeatedly cut across the bench and even continually misnamed the Operation Midway Drift. He also had to apologize for being new to the case. According to a transcript, the lawyer complained to Ellis that he had prepped Bovino for a narrow set of issues. I mean, they asked today about communications with Stephen Miller. They asked today about body cam footage from Los Angeles. I feel sandbagged right now. For example, questions about communications with Mr. Miller may be perfectly within bounds if they talked about, this is how I want the operation to go, Ellis said. Miller, the White House Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy and the President's Homeland Security Advisor, is widely seen as the architect of the administration's hardline deportation tactics and was behind its reported target of 3,000 daily immigration arrests. If Mr. Miller said that to Mr. Bovino, And that was Mr. Boyno's mind as to justify the force being used. They can ask about that, the judge said. It wouldn't be shocking if Stephen Miller were breaking the law through the orders he's been giving to ICE officials and commanders, directing them to use excessive and unnecessary force against people simply trying to live their lives in places like Chicago, Los Angeles, soon New York, and of course, Washington, D.C. Miller has every reason to keep those directives secret, not only because they could reveal illegal activity, but also because they expose how he has repeatedly gone behind Donald Trump's back. You might remember when Trump publicly announced there would be no more ICE raids on farms, hotels, or restaurants. But those raids continued anyway, because Stephen Miller ignored Trump's orders. Now let's be clear, Trump didn't stop the raids out of compassion. He did it because his wealthy friends, the billionaires who own those farms and hotels, complained to him. So Trump backed down to protect his donors, not immigrant families. But Miller refused to comply, proving that he, not Trump, was really in charge. The leaked communications in question don't just involve illegal and unnecessary force by ICE, they also show Miller undermining Trump's authority. That's what he's desperate to hide. He knows it would infuriate Trump, who has even admitted that people find Miller weird. And it would raise questions about Trump's declining mental capacity if it were revealed that Miller was making key decisions in his place. It's incredibly hypocritical that Miller wants total access to your phone and data while refusing to let the public see his own communications, especially those related to Trump's health or ICE's unlawful actions against U.S. citizens. But that hypocrisy defines this administration, and we can't ignore the bigger picture. Trump and his billionaire allies like Larry Ellison and Peter Thiel are fully behind this mass surveillance agenda. Ellison, a major Trump supporter and founder of Oracle, helped design early systems for government data tracking. Companies like Palantir, co-founded by Thiel, profit massively from collecting and storing your personal information. The more surveillance grows, the more money they make. And the closer they get to building the authoritarian police state they've always wanted. That's why this reporting from Rachel Maddow is so critical. It exposes how deep this surveillance agenda goes and just how dangerous it could become under Trump and Miller's control.
Then it was confirmed by the Washington Post, and it does appear that the Trump administration has decided to reactivate the contract with that spyware company. The Washington Post reports that it's not clear why the contract has been reactivated or what exactly happens next or what ICE is going to do with this type of technology. The Post was unable to get comment from the company in question. But this company makes total surveillance technology of a type that has been linked to some of the scariest human rights abuses in the developed world. And of course, the news that Trump wants ICE to have it comes just as the Supreme Court has given the go-ahead for the Trump administration to restart roving immigration patrols in Los Angeles, in which ICE admits they're going after people on the basis of their ethnicity. It comes just as the Trump administration announces a new immigration blitz in the great city of Chicago. I mean, yeah, with what Trump is having ICE do and the possibility of ICE having access to this kind of technology, what could possibly go wrong, right? Set yourself a news alert on this company, Paragon. On this one, you are definitely going to want to watch this space.
This is genuinely alarming, and it's not getting nearly the attention it deserves. We'll continue covering it right here on this show because it's far too important to ignore. I'm grateful that Rachel Maddow is shining a light on it. Few in the mainstream media are, but she's always ahead of the curve. If you'd like to support our work as we stay one step ahead of the corporate media, be sure to hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and if you've made it to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I will see you soon.